Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast. No, not great.
Bad.
Cubs lose 6-4 to the Rockies. Yes, Cody Delmendo was there as a man of integrity. He should take blame. I agree, Ryan. He should take blame for the loss. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Corey Friedman, and Mr. Kevin Wells were 4 wide. It was just an ugly game. And again, I know we say this after every loss they have like this. It's only one game. There's too many of them.
There's too many. If we're being honest, there's not enough games left to keep saying like it's only.
Yes,
one
but
game
I'm saying losses like this, they've had too many of them this season. Like you can just go back and go, yep, that game, that one, another, and against the Diamondbacks and against the Reds, and they blew one against the White Sox. Too many of these, and this was just sloppy baseball tonight. Mm-hmm. A couple pretty plays and a nice game by Suzuki, but in general, it's kind of sloppy basebal against a bad team.
Yeah, I mean it's a bad loss. I mean there's I don't think there's any two ways around it. You had a starter with bad numbers for Colorado. I think he's been slightly better at home. An ERA north of 9 on the road for Chris Flexen. ERA north of 5 at home. Altogether, a starter, you're in a playoff race. You're playing in Colorado. Even after this game, where he only gave up 3 runs in 5 1/3, Chris Flexen has a 7.2 ERA. It wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? Like, I know last night we talked about this. The Cubs hit the ball pretty hard, right? And they didn't put up a lot of runs. They had to have the late comeback to win it.
Yeah.
But they hit the ball hard. Tonight, you just didn't have a good enough offensive effort. And we were talking about it, Luke. Like, the story of this game for me is you walked 6 batters, you walked 6 Rockies, you hit a Rocky, so that's 7 free passes, and you made 3 outs on the bases. You can't do that in a playoff race against a team. What's Colorado? 40 games under 500? Free bases. You're making easy outs on the bases when you have chances to score runs. Just a bad effort from the offense and the pitching staff tonight too. Like, they're piecing it together, but way too much free stuff. Yeah. You beat yourself tonight, I think, more than Colorado beat you.
Yeah, well, you kind of said it as like, it's a bad team they're playing. And, we know baseball happens, right? They play 162 games of these. This team's going to end up winning 50+. So it's like they're not losing every single game. So this can happen, but just like, I think in the context of the Cubs were the sloppy team. That's why they kind of beat themselves. They should not look like the sloppier team in a given day against this Rockies team, and they did that today through pitching, through base running. Yeah, it was a lot of uncompetitive pitches. We'll get to Assad, I assume, but it's like he just didn't. He was getting hit pretty hard for most of the night. Didn't look like he kind of had his second straight. He's been really good in this stretch for the Cubs.
I was going to say, it's bound to happen, right? Like,
and it's Coors Field that that kind of stuff happens. But now this is 2 straight of him getting hit pretty hard. Happened with the Diamondbacks last week, and now we got the Rockies, and just hasn't looked good the last 2 times. They're going to need him to figure it out. They need him to be better down this stretch because they're starting to, just with the injuries, just who they don't have available, they need him to be better. But then you have the base running mishaps. You have just the offense not, Morel we'll talk about as well, but just like striking out his first 4 times. He had that great at-bat at the end, or a great plate appearance at the end of the game, but he did strike out 4 times to start his night. So it's just, all around just did not look like it. And it's a game they almost won still, right?
Yeah.
That kind of shows you, like, the Rockies just aren't a good team. The Cubs still had a chance to win this game, but just overall kind of beat themselves because of just not looking good from the pitching-wise and base running mishaps. I think those are the biggest factors for what we saw today. And
it started right in the first inning. Sure. I mean, you running in the outs with Dansby Swanson coming up to the plate, and you would have had second and third to give yourself an early lead. Dansby Swanson hit the heck out of the ball tonight.
Yeah.
And having second and third instead of going into the bottom of the first tied 0-0, and you have a chance to have a 2-0 lead right away to give Assad a little bit of comfort to ease into the game. I mean, it's the little things, right? I mean, running. You can make these mistakes, I guess, against lesser teams in some ways, but you're not going to be able to. I mean, you're not going to have that opportunity against Devin Williams in the 9th inning. I know you've beaten him a couple of times, but you're not going to, against an all-star caliber closer, that's not going to happen in those tighter games come down the stretch in October.
And they aren't little things anymore, because I think they talked about it in the offseason. This team doesn't have tons of thump. In the offseason, Jed Hoyer's like, we need to blow teams out. And they did that early in the season. There were some big 10-run games that they won by like 10, 12, 15, right? I can't remember the last time that happened. So now you're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and you're supposed to be good at the things you told us this team would be good at. Pitching, defense, fundamentals, and base running. At least 2 or 3 of those have failed you recently. The base running thing feels like that's been brewing for a long time. And it's not, you no longer can say that it's, hey, they don't have the offense, they've got to be aggressive on the base paths. Too many guys are trying to stretch it. Like, I like a player to be aggressive, but not when it's taking away an inning early in the game. Not when your best hitters are coming up and you're making that mistake. That's bad baseball. I am curious what David Ross thought of, and this is not to pick on Pete Crow-Armstrong, but I'm curious what he thought of the attempt to steal third last night. Was that a mistake? Was that the green light you gave him? Or was that a bad base running play? Because to me, if you're going to steal third last night, you better be 1,000% sure you're going to be safe. Now, don't get me wrong. They've had like 4 or 5 of these where it takes a perfect throw and a perfect tag, and I know you're trying to make the other team, but the other teams are making the plays.
Right.
So stop giving away free outs.
The Rockies have had a good defensive series.
Yeah.
They've played well
Charlie
defensively.
Blackmon in right field, like turning back the clock kind of thing, right? I look at the Bellinger one, and I think, like you mentioned it, like kind of off the bat, first in, you could have had, I think it would have been runners in the corners, one
First
out.
and third, not second and third.
Yeah. First and third, one out, with solid part of your lineup still left to hit. So the way I look at it is, if I'm David Ross, I'm not managing the aggressiveness out of Cody Bellinger. I want him, who's a good base runner, a fast guy, I want him to be aggressive. But you also have to be smart in the way you do it, right? Like that. I'm not saying I don't want Cody Bellinger to be aggressive in general, but like that feels like a mistake on Bellinger's part to try to stretch it out. And we've seen him do it in similar, base hits, similar spots he's hit the ball, and he's been able to stretch it in a second. So again, like I kind of have a problem just completely saying that it was a bad mistake on his part, because I want him to be aggressive. But it's also like when you get thrown out, it's on you, right? And I think that's the way I look at it is I don't want him to not be aggressive, but if he gets thrown out, it's on Cody Bellinger.
It's being aggressive in the right moment.
Yes, right? So it's a split decision, right? The ball's right in front of him. It's again hit to a spot where he has been able to stretch those out before. So I'm not telling him like never do that again, but it's just like it's on you if you get thrown out. If you're gonna make that aggressive play, it's kind of on you when you get thrown out. And so that's why it's the tough balance of like being aggressive versus like, okay, think in your head, like we got first and third. Do I want to try to stretch this to a double? It's tough balance, but it's like when you look at it, it's on Bellinger for getting thrown out, right?
I think
And Madrigal. That was a run.
That was bad.
Yeah,
That was a
Madrigal
run.
too, yeah.
That was
That
just
was bad.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone said that Willie Harris was trying to stop
I didn't
him.
see that,
it
but
myself,
I read it
but
on Twitter that Harris was not sending him, and he went anyway. But that was bad. We were sitting in the studio, and Herb Lauren said he's going to be out at third as he was rounding first base. So a little too predictable. But I think to your point, I don't mind aggressiveness, but it's just one of those things
either.
where
It's
even the last 2 nights, like again, you hit the ball hard last night, but it didn't fall, got caught, things like that. Tonight, not as good of an offensive effort and approach. Being aggressive is fine, but these are bad outs. You have to be right. You know what I mean? Like, and I know it's a fine line.
That's what I'm trying to say is you have to be right, and if you're not, it's on you.
Yeah, and I remember, like, I always think back to, like, when Joe Madden would talk about Javi Baez and say things like, well, I'm not going to coach the aggressiveness out of him. He'll make mistakes. He's going to make insane plays, but to get him to that elite level, you have to kind of let him figure it out a little bit, right? So these things are going to happen. But when you're not scoring enough runs in Colorado off a bad pitcher, you had better be clean in those little areas. 3 outs on the bases is not going to cut it, especially on the other side of the ball when your pitching staff is just giving free passes the whole night. It just wasn't a good all-around effort from this group. Seiya had a really nice night. PCA made 2 incredible catches, which, yes, I see it in the chat. We will talk about it, of course. But this was a frustrating one. And, like, I see it in the chat, too, right? Like, we all know what the context is, right? This is still currently a playoff team, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you are now 4 back in the division, so your job has gotten a little harder. You're still in that race. Like, we know that. But, like, we're talking about this game, and this game was sloppy and not a particularly good effort in a matchup that, you know, we always talk about it, Ryan. Like, you can't just look at games and say, oh, they have to win, right? The Rockies are 40 games under. They have to sweep them, right? It's baseball. It rarely works like that. But you are in a tight race. You got a lot of teams breathing down your neck. It is rarely going to get easier than facing Chris Flexen in Colorado.
That's right.
Like, it's just that simple. This is a cake matchup, and you didn't take advantage of it by your own doing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have to be the crisp one. You may not win the game, but you can't beat yourself. The tighter one. Yeah. You can't beat yourself. And I'm seeing in the chat the talk about the all 3 mistakes, right? The Bellinger, or all 3 base running outs. Bellinger, Madrigal late, and then PCA trying to take second. Like, I look at the PCA one, and that just feels like a rookie mistake, right? Like a guy that's been doing this against minor leaguers. And
it was a bad read.
It was a bad read, right?
And I don't think we should be concerned about that.
Yeah. I'm not concerned about that, for sure. But I'm saying, like, that's another one where it's like you have PCA up. It's great. He's definitely going to help you. We saw him help them in the outfield today. But, like, he's going to have to pretty quickly get better at that read, because that's another potential run. It's just a base runner, right? A base runner that they no longer have because he took a bad read, didn't get a great jump on that ball. Obviously, the ball didn't even get away from the catcher at all. It was a great grab in the dirt from him. But it's like, you're facing major league guys now. Everyone's a major leaguer here. You're going to have to be crisper on those reads. If you don't see it get away from him right away, like, maybe you don't try to take that base. It's a rookie. It's a rookie, you know. It's not something that I'm concerned with going forward with PCA, but it's just another example today of them running into their own outs.
The thing
that built up overall over the game.
Would you agree though that it feels like the last 3 weeks there have been a lot of guys thrown out on the base paths? I'm all for the aggressiveness, but I'm with what Corey said. At some point, you better be right a little more often than you have.
Totally.
Look, like,
I think we're all saying that.
We talked about this team coming into the year, and it's still true, right? And you mentioned it with the not being at that point where you're blowing teams out, right? This team has got to be – this was always true. Since day one, we've been saying it. They have got to be clean on the margins, right? They have to play good defense, if not great defense, which in a lot of respects they have. A lot of their players have. Like, Dansby is unbelievable at short. Nico's unbelievable. You saw it from PCA tonight. They have got to get matchups right when it comes to pitchers. They have got to score in situations where you have a runner on third. You have to be good and crisp at situational hitting and on the bases. And in a lot of the season and a lot of those things, they have been good at that. But tonight was just an example of not executing in those little things. And this team has to execute those little things. This is not a juggernaut of an offense that can make these kinds of mistakes and get away with it. And you saw it tonight. And, you know, there was some, chatter about like KB's RBI hit, right? There was a check swing. It's unlucky, right? But you know what happens when you walk a bunch of guys, right? And you put a bunch of guys on base for free? Shit happens, right? And like that's the type of stuff that happens. So this one, it's tough, right? Because I know what everyone's thinking, right? And Cody tried to save his season in the last start, but it's Tyone in Colorado tomorrow with the series on the line. So it doesn't exactly. I'm not going to bed tonight feeling particularly, comfortable about the show we're going to be doing tomorrow. But this was one of those games, like they just have to be cleaner than this. And I don't know if, I know everybody likes to yell about David Ross, but for me, this is like the players, this is on the players. Like the base running stuff tonight, the walks, things like that, players have to execute, and they have to be good at those little things, and they were really bad at them tonight, and that's how you lose to a team that's 40 games under 500.
If there's something positive out of this game, it's not obviously the outcome. PCA's 2 catches, and Seiya has been the guy that you've needed to get in the offense. Like, certain guys aren't playing well. Morel and Happ have struggled lately. They just have.
It's time to move Seiya up a few spots in the order.
Seiya's been spectacular.
It's been amazing. Yeah. He's barreling everything. I mean, it's great. It's a welcomed sight. We've seen Brendan tweeted about it earlier too, about this is as locked in as we've ever seen Seiya Suzuki. He's had an unbelievable month of August. Now into September, it's continued. Mm-hmm. Time to move him up a little bit in the lineup.
I see that, but I also, I guess, just playing devil advocate is where he's at in the lineup. Hitting behind the heart of the order also helping him, you know? Just as like on the other side of that argument is batting where he is behind some of the guys. I just think he's seeing the ball
so well.
I think he is
now.
too. I think he's great. I think he's been the best hitter on the team for a couple weeks now. But I'm also like, is there a part of that him hitting where he is behind the guys he's hitting? You know, he's getting on a lot, or he's coming up to the plate a lot with guys on base, right? They can't necessarily. Now that Seiya is hitting so well, like they can't. Just kind of walk those guys in front of him or whatever pitch around him to get to him. Like, I think that all kind of factors in it too. I'm not saying like I wouldn't move him up myself, but I just wonder how, if hitting where he is also impacting just his confidence and, you know, again, getting up to the plate with guys on base. Like, does that have part to do with it too?
Personally, I've given up on, you know, complaining or whatever about the lineup, because it's like I don't know. I feel like each week it's like a certain guy.
Certain guy needs to be moved up,
dialing in on.
And I'm not complaining about the lineup. I just think that moving him up a couple slots, the production you're getting out of him right now.
We saw him in the 3-hole, I think, over the weekend. So great. You know, I mean, Ross seems open to it, but you know, I was looking like I think it was before that last at bat, but with the homer tonight, Seiya at a 122 WRC plus, 351 weighted on base average, 17 homers, 348 on base, 475 slug, massive. Even if we're talking about the future of this organization, this looks like the player that you signed him to be, right? The power has shown up, which we were concerned about a little bit early in the season, and like wondering, you know, where he would kind of fit at the major league level. Of course, he had that major slump that he went through, and Ross sat him down for a bit. But like, that's his overall line on the season. I mean, that looks really, really good, and that is with a bad slump mixed in there. If this is the version of Seiya Suzuki that they have figured out, that is a big deal for this team, not just for the rest of this season, because so many guys have been inconsistent, but for this franchise going forward. And it's a credit to him, and I think the organization, because he's adjusted things. He is a much more aggressive hitter now. I think when he first came up, he has such patience and such a good ability to read the zone. And we saw it. He would get rung up on bad calls by the umpire. So he was basically patient to a fault, right? And sometimes you have to change your approach and say, I am not looking for a walk, I'm going up there to hit. And that feels like, and I think Sup was talking about it in this series, but that is what you're seeing from Seiya Suzuki. Yeah. He is going up there to attack and swing the bat, and the results are awesome for this team.
I saw the question in the chat, and I knew this one would be coming. Why would David Ross bat Christopher Morel leadoff?
Yeah, we were talking about it on the couch. Like, I looked at his stats, and they were like surprisingly
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that tonight's game didn't obviously show that. Yeah,
no, totally. But I do struggle understanding it when you know I think he's striking out at like a 32% clip right now.
Four times tonight, is that right?
Struck out 4 times tonight. Yeah, 32-point-something% clip on the year for Morel. And I don't know where the contact rate is, but if you're striking out that much, the contact rate itself probably isn't that high either. I don't think I would. I think you'd want a more contact-oriented guy there in the leadoff spot, and it showed today. Like 4 strikeouts. Again, he had a good at bat or plate appearance to work that 0-2 count into a walk. Laid off some good pitches there, but overall, it wasn't a good night from him outside of the leadoff spot. Again, I was surprised to see some of the numbers he has batting first on the year, considering the strikeout rate. But that strikeout rate does still exist. And is he your prototypical leadoff hitter? Is he a guy that you absolutely trust to make contact with the ball, to keep putting the ball in play, to take those walks, to just be the guy that sets the table. I don't know if I do right now. He's been struggling too since August. Like he's got a 600, maybe even sub 600 OPS since the beginning of August. So that's obviously not good either. Like he's struggling himself, and he's had his moments for sure. Like he's had that go ahead hit in Toronto. He had the walk off. He's had his moments even in this rough stretch, but he's overall struggled for a few weeks. And again, with the strikeout rate, like I don't think I'm comfortable batting him leadoff and every day or against lefties, right? I think maybe Nico could be there or something. Like Nico has a good contact rate, right? Like I'm not. Lineup construction is such like a very, there's a lot of people involved in that, right? There's as far as like the people feeding numbers, the R&D department, like there's a lot of different things that go into it. But when I'm looking at it, I guess just me, I'm like I don't know that I see Morel as like your best leadoff hitter.
I know people are mad about Happ, but I'd rather have Happ at leadoff.
Well, Happ should be the leadoff hitter, but they're afraid to do it because it didn't work well the first time. But
glad you said it.
Well, I saw our good friend Gary in the chat saying CHGO is afraid to criticize Happ. There's like hours of podcasts of me saying he shouldn't be in the 3-hole. I don't know how much clearer I can be about that. But I think he threw Morel up there. I think trying to get a spark. It's Colorado, right? Obviously, he hit the home run yesterday. No, he's not a good option. I don't think at leadoff. That last plate appearance was really impressive. Spitting on those pitches from Lawrence at the end there in the 9th inning, and he's shown a little bit of that. So I think he's making some progress in terms of his discipline and things like that. But no, I don't think he's an ideal leadoff hitter. There's just too much swing and miss there. Really coming into this, like his last week or so has been better. But Morel's numbers over the last like 30 games, he's hitting 162 with I think barely over 500 OPS. Like he should not be getting the most at bats on the team. Yeah, no matter what you're
going into today. So the numbers I was a little harsh on him. The numbers since August 1st. That's going into today. 30 games, 170 batting average, 232 on base percentage, and a 642 OPS. So that's multiple weeks of just overall not looking like the Morel that obviously started this season, right? And you mentioned it, the strikeout rate, the swing and miss. Like I don't know, that's not what I guess think of as a typical leadoff hitter.
Could it be a comfort thing? You think it's because he's been moved up and down the lineup? He's batted all over the place. Could that be it? I mean,
yeah.
He's been moved all over the place.
That's what I mean.
Earlier,
can he establish his footing in a spot?
Thing. Now he's basically just a DH,
which is the best move for this team.
I would agree with that, but.
I go back to what Dustin Kelly said about Cody Bellinger and him being a great hitter. The reason he's a great hitter is because he's got multiple clubs in the bag. Morel really has like one or two. And that's putting it kindly.
And they're both drivers.
Yeah, exactly. They're
both drivers. They both go a driver and he has another driver.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So as a leadoff hitter, you need more than one club to hit the ball. You got to shorten up with 2 strikes. I know he hit that awesome home run against the White Sox with 2 strikes, and it was amazing, but and he had a great at-bat at the end of the game today. It was one of the best at-bats of the entire game from the entire lineup. But leadoff hitters have to have multiple clubs. He really doesn't. I know he's got a great, you said his numbers there were pretty good, Ryan. he's not a leadoff hitter. He's not a
that's
leadoff
what I'm
hitter.
saying. Like I was surprised to see the numbers that good because he's not my ideal. He's not my ideal leadoff hitter because of the swing and miss.
Yeah.
So that I was surprised to see that, but it's still like you're gonna have a game today, like this first 4 at bats for strikeouts. Like that's tough to see in a leadoff position.
Again, I see it in the chat too. Like I think we're all in lockstep on the Morel leading off thing, but just because I see it so much in the chat, like again, I have said I'm not a particular fan of Happ hitting third. The other day when he was hitting righty, they dropped him down, I think, to the 7-hole, which, I mean, I've been praying on that, right, as long as he's hitting righty for sure. But if he's going to hit there, he has got to come through a little bit more, right? You're going to be the 3-hitter. If David Ross is going to stick you there, like, he's got a 740 OPS in his last 30 games. It's not good enough for a 3-hitter, And part of the reason a lot of people like him in that leadoff spot is he does have really good plate discipline. He sometimes is looking for walks because he sees the ball so well.
He's one of the league leaders in walks.
Yeah, so like I think that would be the spot. They're clearly not comfortable with it, but if he's going to continue to hit third, he has got to slug a little bit more. He has to provide that offense. There's just no other way around it. It feels too often like those spots come up and, maybe he gives you good plate appearance, takes a walk, etc. But it's just not that. It's just not where you need it to be for the 3-hitter. But I do agree with friend of the chat, Niran. This is what they're going to do.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's part of why I said I'm kind of over. I almost always disagree with the lineup, right? Like, just in some way, because I'm a fan watching the games on my couch, and I like to think about it, right? But this is what they're going to do. I mean, Ross has said 1,000 times that they're going to play the guys that got us here, and they're going to do this, and he's answered the questions before. Why does this guy hit here? Why does this guy hit here? This is what they're going to do. So we just have to hope that some of this stuff starts to sync up a little better, and, we might see slight changes. Over the weekend, we saw Seiya move up a little bit. We saw Morel leading off today. But this is what they're going to do. This is who they are.
And I'm not saying you aren't right in the chat about some stuff where I don't agree with you or I agree with you. David Ross's explanation would probably just be, are we not exceeding expectations this season? At the moment, have we not exceeded expectations? No. I agree.
Yeah.
Now,
I know you're not saying that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying they would say, we've already exceeded expectations, and my response or response to that would just be, yes, but you could probably be 3 or 4 games even better than
100%.
that.
Well, and look,
it's they know
not
more about baseball than I do. I know that for a fact. But there are some things that I agree. You said it last night. Some of us can sit at home and go,
yeah,
what is going on? How can I see this and they don't see it?
I think that here's the thing on that, right? It's not to move the goalpost. I think a lot of us were very happy that they were going to be competitive, that they're currently a playoff team.
Yep.
Like, if you told me that in the beginning of the year, I would have said, sign me up, let's go.
With a flawed roster.
But, right, you are here.
Yes, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're here. You are a playoff team right now. Being rooted in stuff like that is not my preference, right? Yeah. Like, oh, well, we're happy to be here. But you're here, so you can make adjustments. It reminds me a little bit of when he was saying earlier today, and he ended up starting PCA. So I knew that all that kind of chatter about everybody's freaking out, like, because of what he said earlier today. Like, is he not going to play?
We're not about developing players.
The Canario situation. But, like, even hearing that, like, we're not about developing players, and PCA started tonight, so, like, it's not like they're doing the same thing. But I do find that very funny. Like, we're going to play the guys that got us here, and we're not about developing players. Like, can you remind me who started last night?
Yeah.
For what?
Who started for the Cubs last night?
Yeah, Jordan Wicks.
Jordan Wicks.
Yeah.
Right. A rookie.
Well, yeah.
Are you developing him, or is he? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like the reason I don't love even him saying that, even with PCA starting tonight, it's like PCA playing tonight doesn't have to be about him developing. He made 2 huge catches for you.
He's already one of your
He's
best
absolutely
players.
Helpful in that outfield right now.
He didn't have a good night at the plate, and if he can't hit, then you adjust to that, and maybe he doesn't start as much and is only playing defense, right? But getting these guys in does not have to be about development. I really didn't like that quote because it's like, well, you don't have to be developing them, but you did just start a rookie last night, and because he's been really good, that's not Jordan Wicks' development. Like, sure it is, right? Like, come on,
Well, and I don't, I agree with it in, like, playing the guys that got you there, if that's the best 9 you're going to put out there, right? Like, if you look at the numbers and, like, this certain pitcher, like, just does not match up well with P. Crow-Armstrong, which I don't know who that could be. I don't have the numbers of, like, P. Crow-Armstrong's specific, every specific hitting skill, but it's like, if for whatever reason PCA doesn't fit in that day's best 9, play your best 9. But if he does, like he did today, you absolutely play him. Like, Talkman's good. I don't know if I don't think he makes those catches that Pete Crow-Armstrong made today. But you're in a big outfield in Coors Field where the ball flies. Like, Pete Crow-Armstrong is your best center fielder, or so at least we believe he will be. With Cody Bellinger, maybe he makes those plays. I don't know. But PCA made some pretty special plays today. If he's going to be your best center fielder in a game where the ball's going to fly and this kind of stuff can happen, then he's got to be in there. And if he's not, then he doesn't have to be. And I won't complain about the lineup. But if it's a game where PCA makes the most sense to be like your best 9, like don't stick to your like I'm going to play the guys that got us here, right? Like if PCA gives you the best chance to win that day, you got to play PCA. Like we've talked about it with the Canario situation. Like he was up there because they needed a guy on the 40-man to fill that 28th spot. Pete Crow-Armstrong's a much different situation. There are specific things that he does very well that can actually get this team and very much contribute to a playoff push. If it doesn't fit in that single day, I don't have as much of an issue with it. But if you're like saying like because I want to ride my guys that got me here, like no, if PCA fits that day's lineup better than someone that helped you get here, you still got to play PCA because he could really help in a lot of different areas.
Absolutely. I mean, those catches were unbelievable.
Yeah,
those 2 catches were absolutely unbelievable. The amount of ground that he covered on the second catch to make that sliding catch was absurd.
What was the expected batting average on that one?
Some would say,
I don't know, but
some would say they were good enough to win Who You Got by themselves.
No, they didn't. But I saw it was Sarah Langs put out on Twitter. PCA covered 98 feet in 4.9 seconds, 30.7 feet per second. 30 plus is considered elite.
Seems fast.
Just unreal. I mean, just absolutely incredible, the ground that he covered. And, that was to advertise. Also, Zoff Anonymous, you're correct. Suzuki won Who You Got. That would be me. We won't be discussing it further. Thank you. Case closed.
Case closed.
What I was going to say, though, was before reading the chat, I love something that we didn't get to experience last year, right, is the live chat in a playoff race. And what I do love about it, right, is the range of opinions, right? Like David Ross is doing a great job. He got us here. I have no complaints. Other people want him, fired and embarrassed in the town hall. You know what I mean? I do love that. Like, and when we're talking about the best 9, if you asked everybody in this chat and all 4 of us, I don't think we're all answering the same 9 players.
No, because
I like that.
It's because it's a flawed roster, so
sure,
there is no obvious answer.
That part I don't like, but I'm saying I do like that we're all passionate about this team. They're currently a playoff team, and I didn't enjoy tonight's game, and I'm kind of pissed off about it. But it's fun to be in this position versus what we were doing last year, right?
How much more fun is it to watch Pete Crow-Armstrong play center field and a guy that has so much promise and potential versus dead-end guys that you had last year that you knew were just filling they were just filling spots. You're right. The brand of baseball is better. The excitement's better. You're bringing guys up. We even the excitement for Mervis a couple months ago. I mean, different team. It's more fun to watch tenfold. So you'll take this any day of the week. But yeah, quit losing to the freaking Colorado Rockies, man.
That's also the main takeaway.
I think the time for like Cubs fans to be like, they took a big step forward. Like it's going to come after the season for sure.
Absolutely.
But like right now, it's like you see it. Like when you're in that playoff push, it doesn't matter where you were supposed to be at the beginning of the season. If you're in position,
you got to step on the gas.
You step on the gas. You made the decision to keep all these guys at the trade deadline and trade for Jamer and Jose Cuas. Like you made a decision to go for it.
Keep Bellinger.
And it was the correct decision.
Right?
It was the correct decision.
For sure. But like now the Cubs have put themselves in this position where it's like, well, now you got to make the playoffs for the fans to be happy,
and you got to win some playoff games. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, you don't need 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, and so it goes back to like if you're in this playoff push, you got to make the playoffs. You can't be doing some of the things that just kind of overall game today cost them a win. Again, I think it was the Cubs beating themselves with the walks, the hit by pitch, a couple of base running errors. Like they kind of ran themselves out of this game, in my opinion. Just overall,
you're 100% right.
It was a game. Again, the game they could have won, probably should have won, and had some mistakes out there, had some bad pitching, or just weren't able to limit the walks, obviously, and that cost them the game. I think that all that just kind of ties in there, where it's like the loss stings for a reason, and like you're in this playoff push, and again, the fans, hopefully our chat will be a lot happier after the season, get some time to reflect, and like they took a big step forward so far this year, but like now is not the time for that. Like now's the time where it's like the Cubs got to make the playoffs right now because the chat's not going to be happy if they don't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
Take a quick break to mention a couple of our key sponsors here. Are you in the market for a new or used vehicle? If you are, then we have some great news for you because Ray Chevy in Fox Lake has just joined the CHGO team. We're talking to the team at Ray, and they have this pledge that they call the Ray Price Promise. It's a guarantee that the price you see online is the price you pay when you go into the dealership. We found that in many cases, other dealers will raise the price on you when you come into the dealership, saying things like, oh, are you a recent college grad, or are you active in the military? Are you a farmer? In most cases, the answer is no. And that's when other dealers raise the price on you, saying the price online included limited rebates that you don't qualify for. Well, at Ray, that's not the case. The price you see online is the price you pay. No add-ons to the price ever. In fact, Ray will do everything possible to find additional savings for which you may make the price lower than what you even see online. As one of the top-selling dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Save big at Ray Chevy because they now have over 100 Chevy Trax models available starting at $21,495, $21,495. And now through September 30th, all buyers qualify for 0% financing. What? Make 0 payments until 2024. What? You heard me right. That's right. 0% financing, 0 payments until 2024. Plus no money down. And best of all, 0 hidden fees with the Ray Price Promise. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. Serving the community since 1963. Find new roads.
You know, I've talked about this, and, you know, it was a few weeks ago, Eric Church in town, nice concert, nice venue, and I just didn't know where exactly to go to get the best deal for the ticket. Opened up the GameTime app, and I was like, this is it. Easily the best deal in town, right? You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. We've been talking about Cody. He's out in Denver. I believe he's going to tomorrow's game, too. Corey, if I'm not mistaken?
I think
Luke,
so.
You guys know that?
Until he returns, his beer bat sits there quietly unused.
So if Corey goes to tomorrow's game in Denver, you know he's using GameTime. GameTime, we love it. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. It gives you actually the views from all the seats in the venue. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. A lot of great stuff with GameTime. GameTime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. GameTime is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. It has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section and GameTime picks the seats for an average of 18% savings, and the GameTime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Our DraftKings King of the Game, well, that's debatable. It could be different than who you got. So my DraftKings King of the Game is Pete Crow-Armstrong. 1 RBI in his first Major League start and 2 5-star catches.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, both. The first one, we all jumped off the couch. Even the Sox guys that were watching
and Sean were like,
jumped off the couch. Like, you've got to be kidding me. That was the... If you had to say which one was better, I would say the first catch was better. But the second catch, man, he ran across the whole outfield. It looked like it was hit to say almost, and he still wasn't to the ball. And he just kept coming and coming and coming. Spectacular grabs for a guy that's never played in that outfield before, really. And it's one of, if not the toughest outfield in Major League Baseball because it's so big. We were saying the other day, like, is he the right guy? Somebody in the chat was like, no, maybe this is a tough outfield. That's the reason. He's supposed to be and is that good in defensively. That is the reason to play him here. Having played it or not, experience or not.
Yeah, well, that's when I say when it's like when you're picking the best guys that are going to give you the best chance to win, like you can't really get that kind of defense in center field with really anyone else you got in your team. Like with an outfield like that, the ball flying off the bat like that, having Pete Crow-Armstrong in center field playing defense like that, like you're seeing it. You're seeing how he helps this team win right now. They didn't win today, but like you're seeing how he could help this team win, like where he can make a really good impact. And so if you're talking about your best 9 on any given day, like a day like today, Pete Crow-Armstrong was part of that best 9 for sure.
I don't know if people realize either how difficult it is to play the center field position and also make that catch in that little alcove that splits out in left center. Make that catch and not slam into the wall and hurt yourself. The body control to make that catch, bounce off the wall and get that ball back in. The sweat, I mean, he looked like a guy who's been doing that for 10 years.
He did, when he made that second catch, he did like the nonchalant ball flip.
You're
like, oh, yeah, this guy's got it.
Yeah, he had a little Wesneski swagger.
He's that dude. He knows like what he's doing out there.
He totally has that attitude. Like,
acting like he's been there before.
You see the guys down in the minor leagues, the reporters and the play-by-play guys, like they talk about just the kind of attitude that he has. When you talk to him, when we talk to him in spring training or Cubs convention, whatever, like it feels like he has that like major league attitude already, right? And he's only 21 years old, but it feels like he's comfortable. The game's not going to be too much for him. Like the moment's not going to be too much for him. And like when you're the number 1 prospect and you have a lot of expectations on you, that's number 1. Like that's the attitude you need to have if you're going to come up and try to make an impact in a playoff push. And I mean, you see it. You talking about just the nonchalant throw, like you see it. You see the attitude.
We're going to see a lot more of those. I got a feeling. For as long as he's up here, we're going to see a few more of those spectacular plays. He's got it in him.
And that may be the way that he impacts this playoff push. It might not be offensively. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. In the chat, I just saw somebody say they ran into Cody at the game.
Cody did.
Chris N says, ran into Cody tonight on the way to Coors. You guys rock. Love the show. Tonight's loss blows, but at least we've got CHGO Cubs. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I think Cody may have posted a picture with Chris.
I did see there were a bunch of pictures. That's right.
Some of our friends in CHGO Cubs, the listeners. So
yeah, that's cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And then he was hanging out with DNVR at the ballpark.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did we have a super chat in there? I feel like I see one,
Somebody
but
from
I can't find
Chris
it.
N. Yeah, I see.
That is Chris N. But what? That wasn't his super chat.
That's grapefruit.
I think Chris did, but there wasn't a comment.
Chris N. did without a text. So
appreciate that.
So
Chris
that
N's
maybe was
super
chat later.
Okay, we're gonna say that's what it was. And we got another one from Grapefruit. You got it?
Yeah. Well, and watching the game, I was thinking that when KB hit the solo homer, that it was good. He came up with the bases loaded twice, and so I at the time, because there was still outs left, I was like, well, at least it wasn't of the 4-run variety. But yeah, he had that lucky, kind of excuse me check swing that drove in some runs, and then the homer. It bound to happen. I almost always assume when we play guys like this that's going to happen. So, is what it is. Listen, you're not going to. I will never say a bad word about Christopher Lee Bryant. So, that's all I got on that.
It's nice to see him healthy. I'll say that. I mean, it's just a nice. It's a feel good moment. I know he hit a home run and it sucks, and that ended up being the game-winning run for the Rockies. But it's also like, man, this dude's had his injuries. I know he got his bag. I know he got his money, but he still loves the guy. I don't know. It was nice to see him play. It's nice to see him healthy. I hope he can finish out the year and maybe string together a little bit more next year. Because seeing that 9th home run of the year pop up in September for Kris Bryant, your eyes just dart to it. You're like, what? Only 9? Mm-hmm. I mean, it just sucks. The injuries really added up for him.
I just don't know why anybody would be angry or bitter about any of the guys that are no longer here and helped win the 2016 World Series. I just don't. I don't get it. Like if they helped win the World Series, isn't that the best thing that's ever happened?
Well,
there's one Cubs fans are definitely bitter about.
Okay. There's one, and
Chris Bryant.
There's one who plays for one of the worst teams in the National League that we don't have to talk about.
Chris Bryant's not that guy.
No, absolutely not.
No,
he's just not.
Look, like you shouldn't. Like I love KB, but especially this iteration and this Rockies offense, you shouldn't be in a position for him to beat you. You know what I mean? Like it all goes back to the same thing. It's like you shouldn't be in a position where a Kris Bryant solo homer, and which has been rare for him, the homers in a Rockies uniform. Like you shouldn't be in a position where that's beating.
Well, and
you,
he came up twice, right, with bases loaded today?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Addison Russell,
they
I
managed
know.
to get him out. Yeah. Like he had other moments in the game to potentially hurt the Cubs, and it just happened on the solo home run. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's a solo statue for Kris Bryant someday. Maybe it's Bryant Rizzo. Maybe it's all of them celebrating in Cleveland. I could also see an individual Kris Bryant home run, like a home run swing for a statue at Wrigley Field someday. I would have no problem with that. He was a league MVP. He was a Rookie of the Year.
There'll be one. I think
Injuries have derailed his career.
There's at least got to, I think, in my opinion, it's going to be something with like a whole 2016 type thing.
I'm fine with that.
I think
too.
that's what it's going to have to be.
Schwarber, oh boy, the chat. I did see that Barb is back to thinking Cody's out there.
So I've got a question. Sean is really in the chat here just going crazy about David Ross, this and that. Just don't really understand it.
We
haven't been in the chat.
talked about
We haven't been in the chat all
like
year.
I just don't really get it. I mean, Ross is the only guy who can't come to the 2016 World Series. Like, let's calm down a little bit.
No, okay, but listen, I know we talked about it.
I think we're punching above our weight here. I think David Ross has got the team where they need to be. If we can't, if David Ross isn't, hey, this is Flash. I don't care. I don't care. We'll flash back to the receipts here. If David Ross can't come to the 2016 World Series championship reunion because he that's in the chat right now.
No, Sean's
no. That's if he can't come in because they're not in first place right now when they're at the biggest talent that like. I'm sorry. I just think this is so. We got to find a scapegoat for everything. This is ridiculously overblown.
Joey's gonna start getting the.
I'm a Cubs fan too. I don't like.
Listen,
what is wrong? Like, I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna ask you, Joey. Like, this isn't your first time watching the Cubs in a playoff race. I know it's not. But welcome to it. Is the answer to your question.
Some of it is just tough.
Welcome to how it goes. Tensions run high when they're in a playoff race. Like. It is what it is. So,
the only thing with Ross, and you guys probably talked about it yesterday, so we don't need to go over it again. But I just got to get off my chest. Cool it with the bunting, man.
Oh, I could do without the bunts.
Cool it with the damn bunting.
I'm just not
I'm so glad I didn't see it tonight.
Guy.
I'm just not a big proponent of bunting in general.
I want to leave it at that.
I think that's also
all I want to
say. That Ross is. I think Ross. I don't think is a fully kind of like analytical like type of manager, but he's also not completely old school.
No.
It's like somewhere in the middle, and like again, it's similar to other things. Like
something of an old school type of.
He's just going to do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's that kind of player. He's just going to do that.
I'm just not a fan of bunting in general, and I'll say like I don't like bunting in general. Like
unless your name is John Lester and it's the 13th inning against the Mariners 7 years ago, I don't like bunting.
There you go.
So, I am curious. Like we didn't really talk about it, but again, this is another night too where you kind of see the effect of the bullpen, right? And you get to those points where Assad couldn't go deep in the game. I think a lot of people would have preferred Assad get taken out earlier, right? He was getting hit really hard, and of course, you're looking at it in the fourth inning. Thinking, okay, well, we don't want to go to the bullpen that early, but he is getting hit really hard. You had the potential for the game to kind of get off the rails. Yeah. But you see it, right? We talked about this, I think, yesterday, where you were going to have to start putting some of these guys into tougher spots to see what they're made of because Alzolai's out. Merriweather is overused. Mark Leiter Jr., I think it was the guys at Bleacher Nation today. If I'm giving that credit wrong, I apologize, but I think it was the guys at Bleacher Nation kind of looking at some of the data on his splitter, and you can kind of see the overusage is really taking a toll on that pitch. Like it just isn't moving the same way. It doesn't have that same bite.
It was the spin rate graphic, correct?
Yes,
exactly. That was Bleacher Nation this
morning. So, we were talking about it yesterday where like, do you love Luke Little in that situation? No. Do you love Daniel Palencia going multiple innings in Colorado, right? Giving up a few runs?
Good to have Boxberger back. He looked good tonight.
Boxberger, like Fulmer, though, making his return in Colorado in tight games, right? It's tough. Yeah. Hayden coming in there late.
It was Boxberger's first outing in almost exactly 3 months.
Since May.
The Major League level, May 13th.
So it's just one of those things where, like, we can nitpick those individual decisions if you want, but this is what's going to happen if they continue to play close games. Like, you only have a certain number of guys that are really truly in that kind of circle of trust, and they're wearing down, you know? So I see it in the chat. Like, I'm hopeful that Marcus Stroman can come back and pitch an inning at a time, 2 innings at a time, whatever he's able to give you. Hopefully this rest for ALLCITY gets his it's his forearm, right?
Yeah,
feeling a little better, and he's able to bounce back after pitching back-to-back days, etc. And maybe you can give Leiter some time off, and he can kind of have a little bit of gas for these last couple weeks. But this is we talked about it yesterday. This is going to be a sort of daily exercise, unless you are getting those starts from Justin Steele, where he's going 8 innings, and you just turn the ball to right now Julian Merriweather. This is one of those situations where I don't know if there are good buttons for David Ross to push. We talked about yesterday the Kloss thing yesterday, I think, was a mistake. And then we got on him for it.
Late.
But stuff like tonight, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the right answer is to some of this stuff.
Here's one thing that was positive news tonight outside of the game. Alex Cohen from Iowa tweeting that good sign for Brandon Hughes tonight.
Yeah.
Rehab for Iowa.
Yes.
Perfect 1-2-3 inning, 14 pitches, a strikeout, 4 swings and misses. His injury has been bigger than I think most people understand.
Underrated.
It's been totally underrated for this team. I'm not saying they'd be in first place with Hughes. It's greatly affected the bullpen. It just has. Like, it's been a trickle-down effect. And yes, that probably signals that the bullpen wasn't good enough going into the season.
At least not with enough depth.
Not enough depth. Like, if a Hughes injury is derailing you multiple times throughout a season because you're trying to fill in pieces and you're constantly trying to put your finger over the hole in the bucket and there's water coming out another side, they've done a good job trying to put that together multiple times. But his injury's been critical, and if you could at least add his arm for the stretch run, and you have one more guy to count on. Listen, getting Boxberger back could be big. Getting Fulmer back healthy could be big, and getting Hughes. Those are 3 guys. Now, maybe Stroman's another one. Maybe Stroman's the 4th guy. But I think you're going to need at least 2 of those 4 guys to really be effective down the stretch here to keep that bullpen going, and not so that it's so overused that they're just completely ineffective.
Yeah, let's not underrate Michael Fulmer coming back. I mean, he is probably I'll go out and say the most important reliever that they have. He's been really, really good in a lot of different situations. I go back to that White Sox situation when we were at the crosstown takeover. I mean, his slider is, he's done some incredible work on that this year. Hughes coming back would be great. Obviously, Stroman would be another nice one. I just think that the reason they're running out of gas here, and you're right, maybe they didn't build up enough depth. Maybe there should have been another addition there in the offseason. But, man, that Stroman injury and having Assad have to make starts and not be that long-term relief guy that can eat up 3 innings has hurt them. I mean, you're seeing guys go on the IL. We talked about earlier today, you're looking – your closer's on the IL right now because he was run into the ground. I mean, he was he was pitching, 4-out saves. I mean, it's a lot for a guy who has never been in that spot before and hasn't thrown this much.
We're talking about Julian Merriweather. He pitched 3 straight games over the weekend, right? Like, he's a guy that hasn't, whether that was through injuries or inefficiency, also hasn't been used. He's been awesome, but he's also a guy that hasn't been used like this much, especially not this late in the season. Mark Leiter Jr. in the same way. This is like, he wasn't even a reliever for the Cubs until the second half of last year, something like that. So, a lot of these guys are getting used a lot. Guys like Brad Boxberger coming back, and we've talked about it in the 3 months that he was gone. Like, I know I've said it. I'm sure we've said it at different points. Like, if you can get him, even if you can get him right and just pitching, even as like a middle relief kind of guy, he's a guy that's had roles in bullpens during playoff races this late in the season. If he can get healthy and contribute, that's huge as far as just adding another solid piece in the bullpen. Brandon Hughes, if he can somehow make his way back, we know he had Ross's trust, and he would look good when he was healthy. He wasn't healthy basically the whole year until they had to shut him down. If he can come back and contribute, that's a big piece that they can add to the bullpen. And the guy that we know Ross can trust or has trusted in the past in those high leverage moments. So you're getting some guys back that hopefully Ross can trust, and you're not going to have to only be stuck with him going just days with Merriweather, Leiter, and Alzolay and Michael Fulmer before he got hurt, right? Like, he was using those guys a lot because he just didn't have the trust in some of these younger guys.
A lot of one-run games.
Right? And a lot of games where the offense just didn't pull away. Some of them they did, but, like, that's another thing is, like, you just so many close games where you have to use those high leverage guys. Well, getting some guys back that Ross might be able to trust is what I'm trying to say. Just will be absolutely beneficial for this bullpen down the stretch run, and just not having to use the same 3 guys as often as he had to for a while.
Yeah, and it reminds me a little bit, of a lot of what we talked about last year, where you were playing, mostly meaningless games, right? Really all meaningless games except for development, right? And you had the opportunity to find out what guys were made of, right? You had the opportunity to find out that Mark Leiter Jr. could be a successful reliever like that Alzolay could pitch in some of those high leverage spots, that other guys could pitch. You don't have that time right now. So what this team needs is, like you said, Ryan, guys that can get outs and that Ross can trust. Not everybody needs to be a high leverage reliever. If you can get Alzolay back, if you can keep Julian Merriweather fresh, and you can give, hopefully, a brief rest to Leiter, can help him get that splitter back where it needs to be, you have your high leverage guys. Like, we figured that out. If you can get them healthy, maybe Stroh is one of those guys if he gets back out there, right? But you don't have the opportunity to put some of these guys through the ringer like you did last year, and he tried it tonight, right? Like, he gave Luke Little the opportunity, a horribly tough situation for a rookie to come in Colorado, right, and try to pitch out of a jam like that. But,
we're not developing relievers.
You gotta, you have these guys are. It's going to be trial by fire for a lot of these guys, and it's going to piss a lot of us off, and it's going to have us on a lot of nights saying, why did this guy get left in, et cetera, et cetera. But they are genuinely, like, trying to tape this together to get to the finish line. And Brandon Hughes coming back and looking like the guy that David Ross kind of ran into the ground in 2022, but he ran him into the ground because he was really good, right? And if Michael Fulmer can be healthy, right? He was a little wild yesterday, but of course that was his first outing. He didn't have a rehab assignment, etc. Boxberger did not look good in the beginning of the year, but, like, if he can come back and be even a 5th or 6th inning guy on a night like tonight when you have your starter go short, that would be huge for this team, because you're seeing the effects of, this is not a vaunted, Hall of Fame level bullpen that they put together, and they're going to have to find a way to get to the finish line here.
I need less Joe Madden, Steve Cishek vibes with some of these guys. Is basically the synopsis of what we're trying to say, though. That, like, I think Brandon Hughes helps with that a ton.
Yeah,
should he come back? Hopefully
guys,
he does.
Like Brad Boxberg, again, it was his first time pitching, and he looked good, but it was like, if I'm David Ross, I'm not putting him in any of those high leverage spots yesterday either, because it would have been his first time in months of pitching in a big league game. Like, they had to put him in today. It would have been absolutely nice if he could have made his return in a lower leverage, comfortable lead type situation. He did look good today, so, like, maybe that's a good first step, even just as far as some confidence for him, like, first game back. But, like, that's a guy that, when he's right, I think Ross can trust, because he has been in the kind of situations that is going to be needed going down the stretch. And Hughes and Stroman, whoever it is, like, once Adbert comes back as well, like, they're going to have to keep kind of treading water here with that, unless the offense can start giving them those comfortable leads to use more guys like Luke Little a little bit more, Daniel Palencia in lower leverage spots. Like, I think that's a big part of it, is just, like, the offense needs to just kind of
gotta find a role for Palencia. They need to find a role for him. I don't know what that is yet.
He's a rookie, right? Yeah, they don't.
We just don't know what it is yet. He's a little bit he's the one I'm a little worried about. Nasty stuff, but a lot of control issues. They need to find a role for him. I don't know if it'll be this year, but down the line.
Hey guys, Fubo TV, 140 plus live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news. Stream live TV from any device. Watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price, and you can start watching right away with a free trial. No contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge. You got college football, you got the Big Ten, the NFL, NFL Network, Red Zone, Ryder Cup, and of course, Marquee Network. Watch all your favorite college football and NFL with Fubo. Go to www.fubotv.com/CHGO to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. Got it right here on my TV. Take my television with me right on my iPhone. And by the way, yeah, football is back and in full swing with another week of epic games. Who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? It's DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now. Use the code CHGO to sign up. New customers can bet for just $5, take home $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook. With that code, CHGO, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problem. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and older, varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Okay, real quick.
Luke did not win his bet tonight.
I did not. I had Pete Crow-Armstrong bet $10 to win 92
but
for a home run.
You know what? And like channeling,
but the catches should count as a home run.
I channeling a little bit of Cody here. I appreciate you. Credit to you for trying to manifest
Thank you.
A PCA first start.
As a humble man of integrity, I appreciate that I'm always right.
Credit to you.
I'm giving you credit.
Big of me, credit to me.
I'm giving you credit
as the humblest man you know.
I'm giving you credit here as we segue into a segment where I'm hoping you'll be giving me credit, Luke.
Yeah. It's too tired. You can have it. Say a wins. Who you got?
Who you got?
Although tomorrow, the only thing anybody will be talking about will be those 2 catches from Pete Crow-Armstrong.
Whatever.
Tyone tomorrow.
Game.
Yeah.
Tyone tomorrow. We're going to let Cody remotely take Tyone to try and will him to another.
He has to. That worked really well the last time.
Probably has to go for it, right?
I think you have to. Yeah.
Can you believe 25 years ago was the Sammy 60th homer?
Was that?
We were talking about favorite players, right? Just watching the game. The Sox guys were like, who's your favorite Cub? Who's your favorite this? Nobody said Sammy. I'm kind of surprised.
It was before my era.
Yeah, I was pretty young.
I'm 26. It was before my time.
I mean, I was.
I know Cody would say Sammy.
I was 7 in '98, and so I definitely remember that.
Yeah.
But I've always said like and he was a part of this team, but like the transformative team for me was 2003, and so my first favorite player is and always will be Mark Prior. So. I think like these guys, I was a little too young to. I remember the Sammy stuff, and it was like very exciting. I remember like coming inside when him or McGuire were like,
it was crazy,
batting and stuff like that. But the level of fan I am did not happen until 2003.
Okay,
so
that's
it
fair.
And again, he was on that team. I was at that Marlins game when he hit the camera well. Like I love Sammy, but Mark Prior was the first guy for me. So, but. Getting back to this, like, you've got another, like, whatever starter, Ty Bloch. I don't know how you say his last name.
Couldn't tell you.
He's a Rocky, so I don't care. Call someone in DNVR if you care. But coming into the game, a 4.58 ERA, 9 starts. He's also worked in relief. Again, like, his numbers, 1.5 whip. Like, he's not the worst pitcher in the league. Might have been Chris Flexen tonight, but we've talked about that enough. This is just a guy, like, you can't lose 2 or 3 when these are the pitchers you're facing. You have got to find a way to score runs. Tyone was great last time out. I have no idea what to expect. Admittedly, I'm terrified of him pitching in Colorado. But hopefully PCA plays and he's ready to be on his horse tomorrow because there might be a lot of fly balls. But you have got to win the game tomorrow. No, I never use, and I'm not using it now. I never use the
must-win game.
No,
Are you saying must?
I almost
Corey
never.
Friedman said must-win game.
I am not saying that, but you can't lose 2 or 3 to a team that's 40 games.
It's not a must win. It's a can't lose.
Under 5. Yes, it's a can't lose.
That's a good obvious shirt.
It's not must win. It's just can't lose. Yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, can we see Tyone put together really nice back-to-back starts? He was great against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
One of his best starts of the season. Not his best, but he was good. 6 innings, 1 hit. Can we see him do it again? He's done it a couple times this year where he's had back-to-back decent starts, but the middle of August there was not great.
Yeah.
And I would kill for, and we talked about it, like that it seems like it's been a while. Give an easy win. Can you just win like 8-2? You know what I mean? I'll give 2 earned for Tyone. I'm a man, I'm not going to like ask for a shutout.
Credit to you.
Like just like an easy win would be so nice. It feels like it has been forever, and maybe it hasn't been, but like just a clean, easy, let's not make no mistakes on the bases, limit the walks, like just a clean, tidy, nice win. You get your day off.
Yeah,
you go see Cody and Brendan in Arizona, and we all have a nice weekend.
Well, yeah, because you got the Arizona series coming up. It's obviously a bigger series. If you can get your high leverage guys a couple days, because they got the off day Thursday like that, even 2 days is good. Is good for these guys at this point in the season. Just 2 days where they don't have to throw the baseball. Like that's ideal at this point in the season. So yeah, I'm with you. Like if the Cubs, they do kind of need to win the game tomorrow. They want, if they have to win it if they're going to win 2 of 3, obviously, and win the series, not lose the series. And if they can give them a comfortable lead and not have to use those high leverage guys, like that's huge.
One way you start by getting the vibes up tomorrow is by wearing your Shady Rays, Ryan.
I forgot mine in my backpack all the way over there.
You forgot your Shady Rays? I got my readers. Pretend they're Shady Rays.
But Shady Rays, we love them. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair. We've worn durable frames and extreme clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's what you get with Shady Rays, and that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact. From building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS, the outdoor adventure of a lifetime, Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. If you don't like your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Very nice. Shady Rays are spectacular. Had mine on the other day. It was kind of a hazy, sunny day, but you still had to have sunglasses, and they just cut that glare with the polarized. And by the way, I had them on. I had my reflector ones, my newest pair, at the tailgate. Goose Island, the official beer of CHGO. Goose Island is Chicago's beer since 1988. They have the Oktoberfest 312 wheat ale. Man, I was handing out a lot of 312s at that Bears tailgate.
Were you putting them down too?
A lot of cold 312s. No, I was putting down the brownies, but that's another story. Full pocket Pilsner every day. That's what the Brewers are drinking. More tailgates coming up. The next tailgate, you can already buy tickets to it. Go ahead and go to allchgo.com. It's the Broncos game, October 1st, which is the last game of the regular season. So,
big day.
Torn attention? Yeah. Possibly. Maybe. Grab Ultra Fresh brewery exclusive beers at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer. Boy, did they take care of us at that tailgate. And, it was interesting. The tailgate, we get some out-of-towners. We get a lot of people that listen to the podcast from out of town and then come in to watch the game, and they don't have anywhere to go. We're now the destination. I met people from Kentucky that were Bears fans. I met people from New York that were Bears fans. I met someone from Dallas that came in from Atlanta that came in to watch the game. So those are 4 different places, and they wanted to know about the Goose Island. So Cody was there, this one's more like a Miller Lite. And I was like, let's not say that. This is better than Miller Lite. That's swill.
This is Goose Island,
When I say that, this is Goose Island.
Did you say which one's the best for chugging? Did he do a beer bet while he was at
I
the
did
tailgate?
say Cody likes the full pocket Pilsner.
Pilsner.
It's a good one.
Full pocket Pilsner.
I think he
Love
did have
me
his
a
best
Goose
one on
Island.
that.
Chugging the, I mean, I'm a 3-1-2 man. Everybody knows that. But chugging the wheat ale is, if you're going for speed, that's not the right.
No.
It's not the good choice.
And in memory of Cody, as we know that he's on the road, there is the beer bet. The last time that was used was spit into.
We should have, like when the Sox hung up Eloy's jersey.
Right, that's what that is.
That's like his ankle.
That's like
we should have put up like a Del Mendo shirt.
That's
in the
right.
back.
That's like I'm ready to be hurt again. Should be hanging in the back of
the summer of Mike Talkman just hanging in the back,
hanging
like
back
from the rafters.
I bet he was hurting again after this one.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We are back here after the game again tomorrow for a full hour. Be nice to everybody. Hope nobody's feelings were hurt in the chat. We're all good. We're all friends.
A lot of people here almost midnight.
We're all rooting for the play. Yeah, I mean, man, it's late.
After a loss, almost midnight.
I got to get home and go to bed. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah,
Good night.
Kids.
Fly the W.